All right, so today's module is about healthy fats, and I'm going to show you a few items that will appear periodically through a plant-based breakthrough or quite regularly through plant-based breakthrough. And I just thought I would share these with you. And of course, as always, we can talk more about all of these in future webinars or on the Facebook page, because these are all things that I want you to know more about, but I just thought I would share a few visuals with you. So first things first, we're going to talk about a few of the seeds that you will see regularly. Up first is flax seeds. Hold them up a little bit there, hopefully you can see well. So flax does appear quite regularly throughout the program. It really is a super seed in my mind. It's so inexpensive. It's a very anti-inflammatory seed. I tend to buy them whole like this, and I tend to grind them up. So I leave them whole like this if I'm going to throw them into smoothies. However, if I'm going to be using them in baking, I will grind them up, and generally what I actually do is keep some in whole form and some ground up. So I'll generally leave the whole ones in my refrigerator in a glass jar like this, and also transfer some into the freezer that are ground up so that I can use them for baking or sprinkling on top of oatmeal or adding into whatever I'm doing. Whenever I need some ground flax, it's always nice to have a little bit in the freezer so that I can just sprinkle it in, scoop it out, use it however I need it. So this is flax. You can find golden flax as well as brown flax. Of course, ask questions about that. Either one of them is a great option. Next up, we have hemp. This appears quite regularly as well. It's honestly one of my favorite foods. Hemp is grown here in Canada. It's a very sustainable crop, and it's a good form of protein, tons of amino acids in here. It's an anti-inflammatory food, low allergen because it is a seed. It's very versatile. You can actually make your own plant-based milks using this without even straining it. You can really just blend up hemp with water, and you can make almost like a creamer. It gives a really nice creamy consistency. I use hemp in my smoothies all the time because it does give that creaminess. I also top hemp onto every single salad I ever eat. I use hemp to make salad dressings. I put hemp on my oatmeal. I put hemp in my baked goods. It's a really amazing food, and we can talk about this in so much depth as we go on throughout the program. But it is definitely a plant-based breakthrough favorite. I thought I would share chia seeds as well because these are very popular. You can see these are white chia seeds. You can find white or black or mixed chia seeds. Either option works. I generally buy them in the whole format. That's how you're going to use them when you make, say, a chia seed pudding. Sometimes they will be ground, and I've used ground chia seeds as well. They're a great anti-inflammatory food, high in calcium. They are just very common in the world of anyone who's healthy eating tends to be kind of veering towards chia seeds. You can use these as an egg replacer. I like adding them into smoothies. That's how I usually use them, smoothies or chia seed puddings, sometimes in baking. But they are a nice thing to have. Of course, just like our flax seeds, chia seeds will be stored in the fridge or freezer, as will our hemp seeds. All of these are going to be stored. I like to store them in glass jars, as you can see, with a nice airtight lid, and they stay in the fridge or freezer. Just to keep them fresh. Fats tend to be volatile, so you want to make sure you're storing them properly. So one way of doing that is storing them in a jar or a container in the fridge or freezer to make sure that that delicate and unsaturated fat stays in good condition and that your nuts and seeds don't go rancid, which is one of the problems when you're dealing with fat. So there's a wide variety of other nuts and seeds that I love, but I just thought I would share some seeds today because these are the ones that tend to be the most frequently occurring, and I just love them, so that's why I share them. Another thing that I love is having peanut butter. I always have this in my fridge. This is a natural peanut butter, so I always give it a really good stir before throwing it into the fridge because, as you know, the fat does separate, so often you'll have kind of like that liquidy fat on the top and a big chunk of peanut butter down on the bottom. So if you are using this kind of natural seed butter, well, not our seed butter, this is actually a legume, you want to make sure you give it a big stir, really mix it up before you pop it in the fridge, and it's going to stay fresh in the fridge just like the nuts and seeds. Another one that appears a lot is tahini, and this is a sesame seed butter. So sesame seed butter, tahini, same thing. This is used all the time for me. I use it in salad dressings. I use it to make soups creamy and thick. It's a nice high calcium food. It's just so versatile. This one it's basically one of my top foods. So tahini is something you will likely be using too. I'd love to talk with you more about this, so please do ask questions. just like my peanut butter or almond butter or cashew butter or any butter, I actually store this in the fridge. Again, always giving it a big stir before popping it in the fridge. Another great fat, and probably one of my favorite, there may be, you're either going to be a love it or hate it, so olives. I personally am a love it. I know some people don't like them, but these are a great whole foods form of fat for plant-based diets. I love olives now. I do eat them sparingly. Sometimes they're a bit more expensive, but I just love olives. Also, don't forget they're very salty, so be careful about how much you consume. So unlike, say, olive oil, this is the whole foods form of olives. So as I was saying in the beginning of the program, you want to stick as close to the whole foods format as possible. This is where you're going to get your olive oil, but in the whole foods format with the fiber, not just the fat. So if you like olives, they're a great snack. They're great for adding to salads. They're great for adding into pasta. So I hope if you're like me, you will enjoy adding olives to whatever it is that, oh, pizza. Wait, I didn't even say pizza. They have to be on top of pizza as well. So I hope you have fun with olives too. And if you don't really like olives, maybe you need to try a few more varieties. Maybe that could be it. So up next is our avocado. This is a super popular food these days. They do not grow domestically here in Canada. Some parts of the US they're grown, but Mexico is generally where we're getting our avocados from. I love having avocado toast. I love adding avocado into wraps. You can make nice pestos with avocado. Now I should just mention that avocados are not an unsaturated fat per se. They do contain saturated fats, but generally when you're choosing saturated fats from plant-based foods is a better alternative than saturated fats from animal products. These also do contain a lot of fiber, which is great too. So you're not only getting the fats and all the vitamins and minerals that are in here, but you're also getting lots of fiber in these avocados. One thing I should mention, avocados, they're one of those foods. They're either hard as a rock, then they're ripe, and then they are rotten. So once you find that your avocado is kind of soft, a little bit, you can have a little give, make sure that you transfer it into your fridge. If you can tell it's ready to go, like if you're not ready to eat your avocado right away, transfer it to the fridge to stop the ripening. That will give you a few more days, it will extend the shelf life, and make sure that your avocado doesn't go rotten and that you aren't able to eat it. And avocados can be quite expensive, so you do not want to be throwing them in the compost. Make sure that as soon as it feels kind of soft, and that there's some ripeness in there, you want to make sure if you're not eating it right away, put it in the fridge. So last but not least, such a favorite of mine. So this is organic coconut milk. This is one of my favorite companies too, called Chaz. If you're in my Facebook groups, you may have seen me talk about it. I love coconut milk. It's such a great alternative to whipping creams. So easy to make your own whipping cream with coconut milk. Literally just pop this in the fridge. For an hour or 2 hours, you kind of scoop out the fat off the top, whip it with some vanilla, maybe a little bit of maple syrup. It's so delicious. But to be honest, what I usually use coconut milk for is for curries or curry type soups and stews, or anything that needs like a creaminess. Generally, I use this in savory dishes, and honestly, I probably use coconut milk about once a week in some form or the other, whether it's in a soup, whether it's in a curry dish, whether I needed to add some creaminess to say like a butternut squash soup. This is the good stuff. So these are just a few of our different varieties of plant-based whole foods, or closer to whole foods. Now this is of course not necessarily a whole food, but these are things that will appear throughout the program that would be healthier forms of fats. And most of them, as I mentioned, are unsaturated, so our nuts and seeds. Peanut butter will contain a little bit of saturated fat, and I believe tahini does as well. Our avocado will contain a bit of saturated fat, as does the coconut milk, so just keep that in mind if that's something you're watching out for. But again, these are from plant-based forms and are going to be a better alternative for you than choosing saturated fat from animal products. I think that's it for now. Of course, we can discuss a lot more about fats on a future webinar or on the Facebook page, so hit me up with your questions. And if you have any concerns or any comments, because I know fat is a bit of a confusing one, of course we can talk more about this. So have a great rest of your day.